Hi, good evening. I'm Shanath Kumar. Great to be with all of you this evening through TechGig. In the next 45 minutes or so, I will take you through the status of distance education today and hope to show how distance education can help you further your careers. I understand most of you are in the technical fields, from software companies and many other companies involved in technology sectors. I understand you have very hectic days ahead, and also you have very hectic schedule every day. And in this, taking higher education is quite a challenge. And I think that's a very significant benefit each one of you will be looking forward to, and understanding how distance education can help you do it in a better way. Now we'll be looking at the role of technology in distance education and its significance in career enhancement. If you try to understand how this session is going to be, it's going to be in 5 broad areas. First, we'll look at the status of distance education today, how it has evolved over several decades in India and also abroad, and the specific role of technology in distance education, how technology helps you decrease the transactional distance. That is, even if you're at a distance, how technology can build a bridge between you and higher education and give you that unique learning experience. The importance of next generation learning management system, or the virtual classroom, which is evolving day by day with integration of many technologies, including the social media, and the specific case study of EduNxt, which we have developed in Sikkim Manipal University distance education. And finally, we hope to show you how this integration of technology into distance education would enhance your career prospects through distance learning. You can ask me questions at any time or through the chat window that you have. I'm open to a very interactive session. I hope this session will give you a lot of value, and I hope you will also reciprocate through interactivity. Well, understanding it from the national perspective, let's look at where India stands in terms of the higher education and also employability. The first aspect of this is the India's demographic dividend. Fortunately, at this point of time, at this stage of the time, India is at a very crucial stage and a very advantageous stage in terms of the demographic that we have. In the sense, almost 60% of the population is between the ages of 18 and 45. So it's a very young population, and this population will continue to be very productive for the next 20 years or so. So it's very important that this large population of young students, that young population that we have, gets into a very productive mode into the industry. If you understand the normal growth rates of Indian gross domestic product, it has been always at about 3 to 4% earlier. But of late, in the last few years, we have seen a very high percentage of this GDP growth in the Indian industry. It has been somewhere around 7%, 8%, and we have been also talking about 9% growth rates. But if this growth rate continues in industry, it's also imperative that there has to be a very productive workforce which is constantly coming into the industry. Now that's where the problem is, and that's where the role of higher education is. If you think about the main benefit of higher education, it is to provide a higher income level to the population so that these population can have a better standard of living. So it's very important that the higher education accessibility is higher for all this large population that we have in India. Now there is a measure called gross enrollment ratio, which stands at about 18 to 20% for India as of now, as compared with many of the developed countries where it is about 70 to 80%. If you look at countries such as US, UK and many European countries, this percentage, this gross enrollment ratio is very high. So we have a large population which is unable to get into higher education. That's a serious problem. Now this is a sort of a double-edged sword. If you can use higher education in a proper manner, this large young population will get into productive jobs in the industry and will be able to aid a high rate of growth. But on the other hand, if higher education is not accessible to this large young population, there is always a possibility that this young population will get into wrong avocations, and they may get into, they may become antisocial elements, which is a larger problem for India also. We have been seeing several instances of this happening. This is because the fundamental education is not available to many of these people. And it is higher education which can guarantee a better standard of living to these young people. Secondly, distance education is vastly different today than it was a couple of decades back. Distance education traditionally has been thought of having a low value and low credibility. But if you look at the developments globally, in several advanced countries as well as developing countries, in India, in Turkey, in many other countries in Latin America and Europe and Asia, distance education is actually gaining more credibility. It's because of many factors, one of the main factors being the integration of technology into distance education. Now let's look at the third factor of how increasingly the focus is coming on learning. The focus is coming on the student actually. If you look at how the traditional classroom scenario is run in campus colleges, the attention span of a student in a class is hardly about 25 to 30 minutes. It's not possible for him to focus on what the lecturer is saying for more than this time. More than this time, his attention gets diverted. And also, there is an increasing shortage of faculty in many of these classes, competent faculty. So the student actually does not see much of value in what the lecture delivery is giving him. Lecture delivery is just stuffing a lot of information into the head of the students. It's the information was scarce about 20 years ago, which is not the case today. There is information abundance today. So it's not that student is looking for information to gain knowledge. Today there's ample information. What is important today is to search the relevant information and curating this information. That is, making sure that the relevant immediate information is given to the student so that he can improve his skills and knowledge. So that is enabled by the technology. That also shows that there is an increasing trend towards learner-centric education versus a teacher-centric education. That is, the role of the teacher has to transform itself from the sage on the stage, where the information delivery is through a lecture, versus the guide on the side. The teacher has to become a facilitator of learning to the students. And in distance education, as you know, a large number of students are working professionals, like most of you here. The third aspect is the integration of technology in every sphere of life. Technology is all pervasive today. There is not one area in which technology has not touched our life. And technology is becoming inevitable. It's no more a luxury. In some ways, technology is becoming a fundamental right. It will soon be. And if you see the focus of the Planning Commission of India, the focus of the National Knowledge Commission of India, the Ministry of HRD, and many such governmental bodies, the focus is on enhancing access to internet to every household. In fact, the 12th the plan emphasizes that every household, at least one member in every household in India will be illiterate at the end of the 12th plan. This is a very ambitious target. The last point is employability. I suppose most of you will be aware of the assessment that though we have large number of graduates coming out of our colleges, very few graduates are really employable. That means they do not have the skills that the industry wants from day one. So the productivity suffers. So this is a key aspect which distance education has to fulfill, especially in the sense that if we have to educate such large number of people, the campus colleges are not enough. And you would also see in increasingly news today that the number of seats that are going vacant in many engineering colleges is getting larger and larger. Now this is an area of concern. So distance education is set to fill this gap. Now if you look at the brief history of distance education, it started sometime around 1964 when the government realized that the need for higher education and the massification of higher education. That is, the higher education should reach large masses of India. When it brought in the Kothari Commission, and it started as a correspondence model. This is the normal model through which we understand distance education mostly. The correspondence model supposes that a textbook or the study material is sent to the students, and then the students reads on his own and then writes the examination at the end of the term. We have come a long way from there. And then came the multimedia model, which is the aspects of VSAT or the aspects of television and radio. So audio, video and text model, which is the multimedia model. We crossed that and we came to the tele-learning model, which also brought in aspects of a larger through VSATs and television. The flexible learning model is when the internet came, and since internet came, it transformed the distance education scenario where 24/7 access was available to the student to learn, and the student could learn through several media, audio or video or text modes. Now we are entering the intelligent flexible model or the ubiquitous learning model through multi-devices. So it's not only the web-based education, but education delivered through mobile devices like your iPhone, iPad and many other laptops, many other mobile devices, which is being, we increasingly see in the market today. So this captures the main features of the different models that we have seen over the few years and what is the current. We are into the 5th generation today, which we are talking about the intelligent flexible model and also the ubiquitous model in the sense that is deliverable through multi-devices. Now let's look at the role of technology in distance education a little more closely. Now look at this generation of people. Normally the digital natives is a generation which is attributed to people born after 90s. Now if you look at these people, when internet has come, so internet for them is not an invention, but it's a utility. When they were born, the internet was there, the television was there, the cell phone was already there. So it's part of their life. They've grown up with these technologies. So you can't tell them that, internet, there were days when internet was not there. For them, it is a given. They were born with that, and they want to use internet, and they're very comfortable with use of internet. So it's almost like your electricity and water for them. Connectivity is a given, granted given for them. Learning is increasingly collaborative today. No more is learning is perceived the way that we traditionally have understood that way. It's not just reading the books. It is a lot more of discussions. It's a lot more of sharing information, where all your social media and many such things come. So it's more collaborative. You learn more when you collaborate with others, including your faculty members, teachers. And learning happens mostly outside the classroom. Very little learning happens inside the classroom. The brain is wired today in a multimedia and multimodal manner to learn. It's not the linear learning that we had known a couple of decades back. So we need to understand that capture this learning which happens outside the classroom and channel it productively to enable the students to learn better and to develop employability better. And learning has also become more visual. No more is only the text the only medium to convey what you want to learn. It needs to be visual. We use PowerPoint slides, we use videos, we use images and graphics, we use simulation and games. So it's more visual. So learners learn more when the concepts are more visual for them. And also, there's a high level of interactivity today in learning through your devices. And the use of simulation and gaming is increasingly gaining usage in higher education. Now look at this. 20 years back, the information was scarce. I remember the days when I had to go to the university. That gives you an idea of my age. So when I had to go to the university to get a lot of information, I had to go travel, go to the university, sit there in the library, take books, take notes, and then come home and read. Today it's not necessary. Information is available everywhere. Information is available in abundance. But what is important is to search and curate the necessary information. Students do not like lectures today. They do not like to just listen to somebody talking. Like you may be feeling now, I would like you to chat and be interactive, in fact. Now the learning is very active. So there is a lot of participation is required in order for the learning to really be precipitated into the minds of the learners. There is a change from a teacher-centric mode of delivery to the learner-centric mode of delivery. The students learn by activities. Students learn by discussions. It's no more the classroom delivery which matters. And the role of the teacher has changed. The role of the teacher is not to just deliver a lecture, but to understand and facilitate the learners, observe how students learn, and to give them activities, take them from one learning event to the other learning event. So facilitation is more important here. So the role of the teacher, the faculty member, has changed completely. The faculty member identifies the content which is required for the students to learn. He searches, he gets the content, and he delivers, packages the content in different activities and makes the students learn those things. So from lecture delivery to learning facilitation. And also increasingly, there's a change from just reading for exams, but a trend to look beyond examinations. Am I really employable? I will write this exam, I will get marks, I will get the certificate, But will that certificate give me the kind of job that I want? Will that certificate give me the kind of income that I need? Will that certificate give me the kind of status that I want? So there's a trend towards gaining more employable skills rather than just looking at the examinations. So that brings us to an understanding of the learner-centric paradigm. So in the learner-centric paradigm, the responsibility is on the learner. There is a one-to-one relationship between the faculty and the student, unlike in a classroom where you need to be addressing about 30, 40 students. The role of the teacher is changing to a designer of education, designer of learning. Learning design is becoming more important. The function of content or the study material is becoming increasingly active. Videos, animations, simulations, gaming. The student is immersed in this. The learning environment is more immersive. It's not just the textbook content that you're reading. Even the textbook content has to be very user-friendly. The responsibility for learning rests on the learner. Now, there is no stipulated controls on the learner. He learns by himself. He learns at his own pace. He learns what he wants, the variety, and he learns in the media that he wants. He wants to look at a video, he looks at the video. He wants to read a text to understand the definition, he understands the definition that way. He wants to participate in a discussion forum, he posts his topics and he posts his comments and learns. He wants to write a blog and learn, he writes a blog and learn. He wants to contribute to a wiki, he contributes to wiki and learns. So the responsibility for learning rests on the learner. It's not on the teacher. Teacher just provides the path and the variety of learning material for him to choose from. The purpose and process of evaluation changes from content to learning outcomes. Now, we don't want to be testing you on what you read and memorized. No more, that is important. The focus is on the learning outcome. If you have done and taken the learning path that has been prescribed, you would have reached certain learning. Are you able to do what you are supposed to be doing? Now, so when we come to this 21st century, the learner has to be a certain type of a person, and he needs to have certain kind of skills. And this learner is being prepared to use technologies that haven't been invented so far. Now, God alone knows where. Now we're talking about 3G and 4G and what will come next. God alone knows. We're talking about convergence of all technologies. What kind of technology it will shape up, God alone knows. We were talking, there are wearable technologies. And somewhere I read that your computer, now it has come to your handheld device, it will become a scroll which you can just fold and keep it. And depending upon the task that you want to do, you can just, unfold it, make it into whatever size you want, and then do whatever you want. Can you imagine a computer becoming just a scroll that you just keep in your pocket? Unthinkable. But this is the way the technology is proceeding. So the students today will be expected to use technologies which haven't been invented today, and the kind of jobs that they want also, they will be doing are also kind of jobs that we cannot imagine today, very different kinds of jobs. So they need to be networked, they need to be multitasking. It's not only one. While you're reading, you have to be talking. While you're talking, you have to be noting. While you're noting, you have to be calculating. So it's a multitask environment that you are in. They need to be very digitally literate. They need to understand the digital technologies that are being employed today. These learners crave interactivity. They do not want to be content to be static, it needs to be dynamic, it needs to be interactive. They need the up-to-date information today, what's happening in whatever that you want to learn up to that minute. You would know. In Google, you can get search of things that have happened in the last 24 hours. So you need up-to-date content. So interactivity is key. Strong visual skills, spatial skills are necessary. Always tethered to the internet, 24/7 on internet, accessible anytime, anywhere. Wants to learn things that matter to him immediately, is not interested in looking too far into the future or into the past, and wants to be challenged to reach own conclusions. You do not want to do what others are telling you. You want to be able to make your own conclusions, and you want to get an education which will help you make that kind of conclusions. Now look at the new ecosystem of learning that we have today. The social networks, such as Facebook, Orkut, and many others, connected learning spaces. You can jump from one website to the other, one media to the other. Distributed learning, content available in multiple locations, multiple packages. Real-time learning, such as Twitter and chat. The user-generated content such as YouTube, SlideShare, and many other things that you can share. Your delicious and many bookmarking and sharing tools. Your readers, which will bring you the feeds, RSS feeds, the e-books, podcasts, audiobooks, avatars, the virtual avatars, the Second Life, where you can go and attend the class virtually. Yahoo Answers, which are always there, any type of question, you post it and you get instant answers. And e-portfolios, which you can showcase your own work on the web for everyone to see, or for the people who matter to you to see. So open educational resources are gaining in momentum. Increasingly, the quality content is becoming open to everyone, free, open educational resources. User-generated content, user reviews are becoming very important in deciding what kind of products consumers will purchase, what kind of policy you will take for your life insurance, what kind of car you will buy. So these are becoming very important today. Now, how will career enhancement happen through distance education? Let's understand this. If you look at this, there's a very growing consensus that education needs to be accountable. It's not the basic knowledge that is necessary, but education needs to be accountable. Creativity is as important in education as the literacy that we have. All the subject knowledge that we talk about is equal to the creativity that is required to use it. You may have knowledge, but it's more important to have the creativity to use it in a productive way. And if you look at that, the top jobs today were not there a few years back. Now look at the future, especially of employment and jobs. How does it look? The future is very complex today. It's not very simple. It's not very clear to say that, okay, I will become an engineer, I will join some government job, and I will have a career for the next 30 years. It's no more like that. In 30 years, you may have as many as 10 to 12 jobs. And your careers themselves may change. You may go through 2, 3 different kinds of careers. You need to have a lot of problem-solving skills. You need to be able to look at how to solve certain situational challenges. The future is also very uncertain. Depleting resources, financial meltdowns, shorter and shorter life cycles, lifespans of products, uncertain environment, uncertain political climates. How do we deal with this? But there are a lot of opportunities which you can seize. as many problems there are opportunities. So what the future needs is creators, not consumers. Consumption will be a function of your income, but you need to be creators of opportunities, creators of technology, creators of new jobs, creators of new products and services. So in order to do this, it's not enough if people educate you to become an accountant, or if you want to become a software engineer, this is what you need to read and learn and pass exams and become like this. It's not enough. It's not enough if you're trained to become just a doctor. So what is required is a sort of learning which is design-based learning. How will you design your own careers? So the careers that would be more entrepreneurial or intrapreneurial in nature, even if organizations employ you, the organizations will look at you to create opportunities for revenues, create opportunities for market share. How will you do that? Create opportunities for newer and newer innovations, which the organizations can gain competitive edge from. So how will you ensure that? So look at some of the jobs that are there today. Digital ethnography. Microsoft has more than 300 positions vacant for the last 2 years for digital ethnographers. And what does a digital ethnographer do? And what is the background that one should have? A digital ethnographer is a person who would design technologies, who would develop specifications for technologies in keeping with the human aspects. It's much more than human-computer interaction. Who would understand how the human is evolving and design technologies for the future, how the environment is evolving and design technologies for that environment. So you need to have basic degrees in the environment or natural science, or in anthropology, in geology, in psychology. Now these would be the persons who would fit the positions of a digital ethno, and people who understand technology very well. So this is a new position. I mean, this is a new kind of a job which was not there 10 years back. A wearable computer designer. University of Utrecht in Netherlands. It has a postgraduate course on wearable computer design. That is, how you can put a computer or a chip in every part of your accessories. Environmental finance specialist who would understand things like carbon credits, who will understand how to convert the environmental impacts into financial languages. The learning designer in education, you need more learning designers, not just teaching the subject. Ubiquitous technologist, developing technologies which would go into multiple formats or templates of technology in mobiles, in various other devices, including web and various other formats. Digital and social media planner, who would give a company a marketing plan based on social media. Consumer psychologist, who would predict how the consumers will behave for the new kind of products that we have. A media advocacy specialist, who will help using the right kind of media to promote ideas. For example, you can take what is happening to Anna Hazare today. Media has a very large role to play in such campaigns. The business analyst and modeler. The business models themselves are multiple and changing every day. So how do you create a certain business which will give you the necessary cash flows and revenues, and in what kind of niche areas should the business function? Sustainable production engineer. So it's not just enough to be a production engineer, but how to be a sustainable production engineer in keeping with the environmental requirements. So these are new jobs which are not there earlier at all, and which are very high paying prospects and a large number of jobs in these positions which are available today. So these were not conceived 10 years back. These are new kinds of jobs which are prevalent today, and the kind of learning. So these jobs, there will be another set of new kind of jobs in 5 years hence. So how will you educate people for these kind of jobs? How will you design subjects? It has to be on the fly. It has to be in a network manner. The critical surviving skills for any students today are critical thinking and problem solving. Your ability to think critically and to be able to solve problems. Collaboration. You need to be very collaborative. You need to be agile and adapt yourself to situations and opportunities very fast. Initiative and entrepreneurialism. You need to be an entrepreneur. You need to be able to spot an opportunity. It is said that a manager has to take a decision at just 40% of information available. Because if you wait for the 50% information, that means half the people know your idea already. So it is at that 40% level that you need to crack the whip and you need to strike the iron. So will you have that kind of risk-taking ability? Effective oral and written communications. Will you be able to communicate effectively the ideas that you have? Because the ideas that you're going to have are very complex, and if you're very creative, it's going to be much more difficult for you to convey those ideas to the others. So you need to have very special oral and written communication skills to present your ideas in a very effective manner to the right audience. Accessing and analyzing information is very important. How will you analyze? What are the models that you will use? And how will you access the right kind of information? And an enormous curiosity and an insatiable and limitless imagination, which is important. To imagine things that are not possible to be thought about by others, that is going to be a competitive edge. And that will come if you're immensely curious about everything that you see, everything that you come across. Asking questions is much more important than finding answers. So instruction for 21st century has to be corresponding to these skills. So it should be relevant to the students outside the classroom, because otherwise the students are not going to be interested in what you're going to be talking about. It has to keep the student highly engaged. The content has to take the student, he has to raise the right kind of emotions in the student so that he connects with the content, and then he gets engaged. And there's a flow of learning that happens. The students have a choice and a voice in learning. The student should take ownership for his own learning. So the design of the learning should be in such a way that the student is able to take ownership of what he wants to learn. That is, if he wants to write a blog, he should be able to do that. If he wants to make a video of himself and upload on YouTube, there must be a provision in the learning for that. It includes higher order thinking, leading to creativity and innovation. It should be able to make the students see the larger picture, the global picture, as well as focus on the micro aspects of that. And the learning tasks that elicit evidence of learning. There must be clear proof of learning at the end of it all. So if you look at the global trends in adoption of technology, there's increasing access to connectivity, though the internet penetration in India is relatively less at about 8%. The number of people who have internet access is larger, absolute numbers. Multi-devices for information access and communication. Increasingly, many number of devices are coming today. Decreasing funding for higher education. This is an increasing trend in especially the developed countries. In the US as well as in the UK and many European countries, given the kind of financial meltdowns and banking collapses that we have seen, higher education has taken the hit very badly. So higher education has been traditionally been supported by the government funding. Now that's not happening. So somebody has to find alternative ways to get that higher education or to deliver that higher education. Higher costs of campus. Campuses have a very big constraint in that they cannot scale up. So the kind of numbers of campus that we need in order to educate the large number of youth that we have in India is just not going to happen. So distance education has a very clear role to play. Lifelong learning. And no more learning is limited to the BSc or BE or MSc or MTech that you do. It is much more. It has to be lifelong, not necessarily degrees, but your learning has to be lifelong in order to keep yourself marketable in the job market. And emerging paradigms of ubiquitous learning. The multiple devices that are coming today necessitates that learning should be delivered across these devices. And there's a huge scarcity of faculty. Faculty is just not available. Good, competent faculty are just not available today. So where would you get this faculty to teach in so many institutions? So this problem is not going to be solved by traditional thinking. There needs to be a very innovative thinking and solutions for this. Now today the classrooms that we see are on all the digital classrooms. We have Wikipedia, which gives you all the knowledge that you want. You have, of course, the Google. You have LinkedIn for your professional connections and learning, the groups in LinkedIn groups. You have Facebook, where you can get what's happening across all your networks. Orkut, where you can keep your friends. Harvard Business Review blogs have changed things very drastically. In fact, in 2008, I was suggesting to our university that we should be the first university to recognize blogs as a valid research forum. But then, I mean, you know, it doesn't happen in India so fast. But within a few months, Harvard Business Review came out with its own blogs, and suddenly it was all official. People started recognizing blogs as a very valid academic entity. Today, it's impossible to think of blogs as something which is outside the academic purview. There are so many blogs which are recognized as valid learning, authentic learning in academics today. The MIT Open Educational Resources is a huge and very bold initiative that MIT has taken up. Now it's coming out with certified courses which are free and open, which are with very nominal, affordable charges. Twitter is one very good way delivering quality education in 140 characters. And delivering real-time education is going to happen through Twitter. Twitter is already part of many good corporate educations throughout the world. Take the example of University of Athabasca. It has an executive MBA program where actual learning from the executives comes through Twitter and the students learn through this. So things are changing, and these are the new classrooms that we're talking about. In fact, in a recent survey that we did on whether Facebook can be used along with our own EduNxt, we found that 86% of the students who said that yes, it should be, and people who are accessing Facebook every day. And I'm sure being in the technology sector, most of you would be having Facebook access every day. So today, why should we be using technology? The answer is obvious today after all this discussion. The technology is because it's scalable, because networking is the only possible way that you can scale up education. Faculty expertise needs to be available for every student. Good faculty expertise, good faculty should be accessible to every student, which is possible through mentoring and chat sessions, which can happen through WebEx and such kind of platforms. Social media offers great scope for networking with quality education. The pedagogy needs to be more real-time and peer-based, which is possible through Twitter. Higher education needs to prove ROI for the student as well as the educational institutions, which is possible through investments in technology, because technology reduces the transactional distance and need to improve productivity of the workforce to achieve higher growth rates. If India has to achieve higher growth rates, it has to be through technology in learning. So how specifically technology can be used? You can share the content and resources through your web, emails, through blogs, videos, podcasts. You can share the expertise. You can network with all the experts at any point of time, anywhere. There can be continuous assessments, not assessments with high stakes at specified points of time only, so that the student gets to really know what is learning. E-portfolios is an excellent way to showcase your learning and whatever you do during your studies on the web. and to get it validated on the web by many others. You have things like I like, I dislike, and such kind of things. You have peer working, which is possible. Peer working is a definite value that is added to students. Real-time discussions are possible through Twitter and chat. Alumni relations can be strengthened through networking on social media. Research projects can be executed through blogs, wikis, through e-portfolios. Blogs and wikis can be written for reflective thinking and learning. Training and development delivered online through e-learning. Needs analysis and performance tracking can be done. User-generated content such as reviews and blogs and wikis can be used. Student query capture and resolution can be made online. Synchronous broadcast through chat and webcasts can be done. Asynchronous publishing through blogs and many other websites can be done. Informal learning can occur, not structured learning only. There's a new concept called massive open online classes which are happening, MOOCs, where more than 2,000, 2,500 students can participate at the same time. Yes, so at their own time, at their own pace. So this is called MOOCs. This is something which is gaining in usage across the world, especially in the developed world. I have already given sessions in 2 MOOCs so far, so there are many more to come. Cohorts and work group planning and management can be done. Tagging, annotations and bookmarking can be done in the content, and so that the content can, whichever that you're learning, can be searchable. You can put semantic technologies onto this and you can develop a huge searchable repository of content where you can put your notes and annotations. The feedback capture from students can happen through surveys and feedback forms that are put online. Now it's my pleasure to introduce to you our EduNxt platform, or the learning ecosystem that we have. It's a next generation learning system. It's extremely advanced. It's extremely futuristic, but it's extremely easy to use, and it has all the kinds of things that I've been talking about. It's affordable, it's accessible, appropriately managed, because everything, all the content is designed in learning outcomes, and it enables availability of content, collaborative learning, communication, and web-based. So if you look at EduNxt, it has the learning material, which are, we have very engaging content, e-learning content, which are flash animations, simulations, user-generated content like student comments and postings in discussion fora. We have community generated, we have communities, and we have learner tools, workspaces, authoring tools, file storage, communication tools, emails, instant messaging, collaborative tools, community-centric tools and planning tools such as calendars and schedulers. We have teacher tools which a teacher can use for developing content and deliver content, which can be done for curriculum design, research, communication and mentoring tools, chat and such things, workshops, assignments, evaluation, online evaluation, presentation tools, authoring tools. It has delivery tools such as virtual classrooms, chat browsing, chat and related technologies, small group mentoring, and discussion groups and many such things, and asynchronous offline content also. Well, EduNxt primarily, I would say, the format of EduNxt and the objective of EduNxt is essentially to take learning and good teaching to every corner of India, to every corner, especially recognizing the fact that there are a very large section of our population, young people who need quality education, but for whom quality education is not available because of the constraints of a campus-based system. Campuses should be there, but in addition to that, it has to have a very large reach. And this is possible through technology enablement. Now, this is the face of EduNxt that you see. We have the things to know, things to do. We have come together, which is a collaboration. We have the subjects, you have the profiles of the students which are put there. We have the subjects, n number of subjects that you can learn, the courses that you can do, and you have my space, which is student space and the faculty space, and we have a large number of articles, videos, and many other content that are there. We have very engaging content on EduNxt. So this is how the inside of a EduNxt looks like, the dashboard of the student, where the student can see the program. He has the progress report that keeps track of his learning. Then it has the dashboard, it has a my space, the news and alerts, which are announcements from the university. There's a calendar that he can maintain, the schedule of the activities and events that he can do, the examinations, the tests, assignment due dates, and such things. Then it has an messaging wall where the students can post messages and see, get instant replies from the faculty and the mentors, and the current courses and the backlogs the student has in the courses. And there's an update of articles, case studies, forums, and blogs. So this is the dashboard of the students. And we have faculty videos which explain what the course is all about, what it is supposed to do, and the employability aspects, the curriculum, and how the course has been designed, and what kind of effort the students are required to do in order to learn, the information about examinations, the schedules of chats. All this is explained by a faculty in a video. And we also have very interactive e-learning content, which is a digital content, graphics content, which is animated in flash files, which is in the introduction to engage the students immediately. It arrests the attention of the student, and there's a storyline with the students, very interesting storyline that they follow. It has the various learning units. There's a profile which the students can maintain. They can put in all their personal details for the other students to know about, so you can know about each other. And this is a WebEx interface that we have with EduNxt, where the synchronous chat sessions are conducted. The students can see the faculty, hear the faculty, and they can chat with the faculty, and they can have access to a recorded session. We maintain archives of the sessions that we conduct and the PowerPoint presentations that are made in that. So these are some of the actual sessions that have been happening, that are happening. You can see the content, which is presented through video, audio, and the chat that is going on. These are some of the things. The faculty also has access to the whiteboard facility here, where you can actually draw and show the calculations and formulae and the graphs. Some of these students have given excellent feedback about EduNxt. You can see that we have some number of students who have vouched for the usefulness of EduNxt, and they have said it's an excellent technology which helps them. So it's not the proof of the pudding is in eating. I am sure that if you are interested, you can get in touch with TechGeek. We are also willing to give you a sneak, a preview of EduNxt. It will be a pleasure to inform you more about this platform and what it can do to education and learning to the students, and in terms of employability also. But the final challenge is actually taking this to every student in India, especially in the remote corners of India, the rural India, the unprivileged people who do not have access to good quality education. That is the ultimate objective of EduNxt and Sikkim Manipal University. Gentlemen and ladies, I thank you for your attention, and I hope you have gained and learned enough of information about how technology can be productively used in education and how in Sikkim and Manipal University we are dedicated to this effort. Thank you once and for all. I want to thank also TechGeek for having given me this opportunity, and there you are. Thanks a lot. I can take a couple of questions if you have.
The questions are already shared with you. The questions pen.
Yeah. Okay. But I don't see any questions here.
Questions pane.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'll just go through this each of these questions. Okay, will e-learning replace face-to-face training? Jais George, I don't think that will happen ever. There is a need for always a good faculty facilitating it. So what I was saying is that the role of the faculty will change. Is blended learning a better alternative compared to e-learning? Of course, there is increasing models of blended learning today with face-to-face and e-learning, and that probably the best solution for today. But that's because many of the simulations and games are not really accessible due to bandwidth constraints or many other technological constraints and affordability constraints and access constraints. But once these constraints are overcome, maybe online learning will be as good as any other blended learning or face-to-face learning. Which has got the global acceptance? Well, today I would say the distance learning is very fast. It's gaining credibility and acceptance throughout the world. In fact, there are enough data to show that in UK, US, and Australia and such countries where the number of online courses are increasing. What web technology role in distance learning is the final and ultimate approach to meet the learning required? But it has to be a combination of technologies. It cannot be just one technology. Because there are multiple things. For example, if you want to have a course where thinking and reflecting is more, you need to have blogs. Where you need to have more interaction, it needs to be synchronous in chat mode. So multiple technologies are used for multiple pedagogical and learning needs. So it cannot be just one technology. Best lesson format for e-learning database or Flash. It can be a combination of both. I would say that it is not only, you cannot say definitely only one is good or two are good. It's a multiple combinations that would to deliver the required experience. Is distance education effective? Of course, I can definitely say that it is effective. Yes, the recognition by big corporates is still coming, but because we need to put these three things together in that. One is the content. So the university in distance education must have excellent content, multiple formats, multiple media. It needs to have the facilitation and the learning design where the faculty are able to design the content in the proper way, and the relationship aspects where the student can develop good relationship with the other students and the faculty. If these things are in place, it will not be long before the corporates recognize distance education as almost equivalent to the campus education. In this rapidly changing learning arena, what are the critical responsibilities for an instructional technologist to best serve the students? Instructional technology is very important because today the multiple learning styles of students are coming to fore. You cannot say that the students only read or only write, but they also listen, they also hear, and they would like to they like recognition for each of these learning styles. So the instructional technologies has a great role to play in identifying the right kind of technology for distance learning. How social media helps distance education, I think I've already spoken about this. Today, technologies such as Facebook are gaining multiple acceptances and becoming more credible and being adopted in education itself. We ourselves have conducted many surveys and have seen that increasingly it's being accepted as a good way of interacting and networking and accessing immediately your other colleagues or faculty. What tips do you have for being a successful distance learner? See, being a distance learner is being more responsible. So the first thing is you must take responsibility for your own learning and then discover and ask questions to the faculty and also the coordinators in the technical coordinators to make sure that you know how to use the various technologies that are available in a proper manner. Is it possible for someone to get the equivalence of an MBA or other for free on the internet? Well, this is just still an open question that is there. Not yet, but increasingly there's a personal MBA by Josh Kaufman where he says that you can read a number of books and almost become an MBA. But this is a concept that the Mozilla has come out with the concept of badges, where your informal learning is recognized by an assessment that is given to you, and you can take a certificate for that. But if you ask me an MBA, we are still a long way from that. I think we need to wait for some more time. What hard lessons do organizations need to learn to be successful at online learning and networking? Yes, it's very important. It's very important for the organization to realize that connecting with your students and customers is very important, and that's the key. If you do not communicate with them adequately and keep in touch with them and listen to them more, I think you'll be missing a very sad thing. And putting in place things such as SMSs, frequent SMSs, emailing routines, and also chat routines to keep in touch with them, surveys to get feedback. I think the most important lesson that one would find is keep in touch with your students and keep listening to them all the time. How EduNxt plans to reach out to a large number of students? Already we have 160,000 students on EduNxt. So I think it's a large number by any chance. But still we are very ambitious and we are looking at catering to almost 4 lakh students, 400,000 students. And this is bound to happen in the next 2 or 3 years the way we have been witnessing growth. We have been witnessing about 25 to 30% growth year on year. And if this goes on, I'm sure we'll touch 400,000 students in the next 2 or 3 years. So I'm sure EduNxt is a big has a big part in this, and we are also continuously learning about the needs of our students and constantly innovating on EduNxt to bring more features and more content to serve the students. Well, I think I've answered your questions mostly. I'm sure TechGeek will provide you the forum to ask any more questions or any more doubts. If you have,
there are a couple of
asynchronously.
There are a couple of more questions.
Oh, is it? Okay. Where is it? I'm not able to see. What is the latest learning model? See, there are multiple learning models depending upon the target students that you have. If it is a corporate segment, then the model is different, where the corporate segment would have more access. But if it is going to be a remote student in some remote area, you need to have a different model which is combining with your face-to-face sessions or text-based modalities. So the learning model is still developing, and it's not still a very mature model for all audiences. So taking into consideration the right kind of audience is very important to decide on the learning model that you would adopt, which has got the global acceptance. I think I've answered that. Are there any more questions that I've missed out?
I think we have already answered
most of the questions.
Yeah. So now I think we can conclude.
I've answered all the questions, and if any more questions are there, yeah. So thank you again, and I wish to conclude this session with thanks to all of you and also Tengi. Thank you.
Thanks, Professor Kumar, for your informative session on role of technology in distance education. It was indeed an enlightening session. I would also like to thank our participants for their support in making this webinar a huge success. The recording of this webinar will be made available on techgeek.com by tomorrow. The next webinar on techgeek.com will be held on 6th January, and the topic is Java 7 Productive Language Enhancements for Developers. Speaker Hemant Kumar Dugar, Training Consultant at Login to Java. So see you all on 6th January at 3 p.m. Have a nice day and a very happy new year. Thank you.